All right, come on, we got to do something. Are you ready for some news? Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. The time you've been waiting for. Yes, I know. It's time for the good news, the bad news, and the other shit. All right, welcome everybody to the good news, the bad news, and the other shit. Not necessarily in that order. Let me tell you a bunch of stuff going on. First of all, I had to tell you guys about this. Near record, world record for heat. Believe it or not, there's a city in Iran that had 165 degree.
What?
That you could cook food. That's like
What?
a city in Iran.
Oh, that's scary.
165 degrees.
But there's no global.
And that's not even the world record.
But that's not global warming, right? That's just hot. Global hot, right? Okay.
I tell you what. You know what? If you don't have air, how do you survive? That's so terrible. I thought I was in Palm Springs one time, and it was like 110, and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah,
I was actually thinking, if you don't get to shelter, you will die.
Yeah, absolutely. Oxygen goes out the door, man.
So let's give it up for whatever the city was. I don't know, but
man,
they probably don't have to give the name because they won't be there long.
Man,
I guess they survived this long. Okay, interesting conversation that came up, Vic, about the percentages of LBGTQ, lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender, in our population.
okay.
And so it came up, and because it came up as a conversation item, I decided, I went to go look.
Right.
I told people, I said, I have in my mind an idea of what the statistics had said. Okay?
Okay.
But I wanted to go look it up. So, because people were curious, and I can understand. This much green is acting weird.
Okay.
I can understand why people were curious because they didn't know. And here's the thing I want to tell you. When you look at these kind of statistics, the first thing you got to recognize is that it's always the best available information. Okay? It's always the best available information. It can't be totally exact. For example, all the studies are based on people self-reporting.
Right.
So you get some variety from country to country, and it's a fairly significant variety. Like you may get a whole 10 percentage points difference, which is a lot when you're talking about the number of gays in society.
Right.
So first of all, it has to do with how people self-report. When they ask you in a survey, and they tell you it's an anonymous survey, okay?
Right.
But still, remember, in our society, it's kind of been shown people are less willing to even say things anonymously.
Right.
And the other thing to consider is their own definitions of gay.
True.
Because everybody doesn't have the same definition of gay.
Right.
For example, most of the studies seem to indicate between a 2 to 4%. But my impression had always been higher. But what they said was that when you start including people who have sex with someone who's of the same sex,
Right.
or who desire to have sex with someone of the same sex, that's about 10%, which is a little higher than what I would have guessed, but just around 10%.
Gotcha.
Now remember, in the medical world, that doesn't define you as gay. See, you have to understand that. So people need to understand they're going to look at this. Why? Because it has to do with how you self-identify. See what I'm saying? That's why the surveys can only be so accurate. They're asking you. They don't define it for you.
Right.
Like they don't say, well, let me define gay. That'd make it too complex. You have to keep it a standardized question. Probably, do you consider yourself gay, bisexual?
Right.
See, they're going to have to do some standardized thing. But notice that means different things to different people. So that's the question with the data out there. So roughly, and let me tell you, you can debate this because it's all debatable. Okay? and varying fairly significantly from country to country. Okay?
Which is it easier to define it as what category fits that I'm not just heterosexual? Would that help people understand?
I don't know if anything's going to help people understand.
I'm just saying.
Because part of the issue is any kind of study of any of these kinds of things didn't even begin to the 50s with Masters and Johnson. Okay? And then it blossomed in the 60s. So this is still relatively new. They just were beginning. That's when they discovered women didn't have orgasms a bunch of the time. When they finally asked.
Right. Absolutely.
They found out things. So, just so you know. Now, reason why people want to look at this stuff, I think, is because there's always a discussion of whether or not people are born gay. I can only tell you my impressions as a pediatrician 30-plus years. It is my distinct impression that gender and what we appear to see sometimes is very different at very young ages. I have seen some very masculine young ladies, and I see some very feminine young men, and believe me, there's a bunch of them that we are thinking, we're looking at them at 8 and 9 thinking, you're going to be very confused when you turn 12 or 13.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, the ability, people say, Mario, you can't. So I said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And that led to another discussion where I showed studies that said, actually, your ability to identify folks as gay is actually pretty high. Now, understand what that means. You can't, there are a bunch of gay folks that don't fit what we call the phenotype. That's not what it's saying. And you ought to read the studies and look at what they say, because there's a bunch of them. Okay, there's very good data on this, so you could go read the studies and get your own opinion. But I was just saying they were showing that you generally can make an identification within milliseconds, which is interesting. All this around the gay discussion, we put it up there because, for me, it's about the whole philosophy of promoting acceptance. And the fact that I personally had made a pledge to stand up more on this issue, to personally stand up on more. And I've been publicly saying that when it comes to people, our friends and family, in the LGBTQ community, it's not enough to support them silently. We need to be vocal in public with our love and support. Just like black folks wanted for the things they did when they were making their move.
Right. Absolutely.
Everybody wants that public support. It's not enough to support it quietly. Okay, well, you want to see more? I posted some stuff on Facebook. I was actually looking at it, Vic, and I posted what is the best available data.
Right.
And they quote their sources. You guys, there's not, just understand they don't know a lot of things, but look at what they have and what they say. The issue is what conclusions you draw from this.
It is better to have information than to have none at all, whether it's as accurate as it could possibly be. So the idea that there's a discussion of different individuals and groups, to me, is the part of acceptance. And, at one time, you only looked at fitting a category of what they would call heterosexual in this current society. And then you went to the subgroups of your culture, where you lived, everything else came into play. And then now you have a lot of what they call individualism, which to me always existed. So I'm wondering why people have a hard time with accepting that there's somebody not like them.
Well, that's because you have to accept that it's natural. See, as opposed to unnatural. In other words, if you have 10% of the population being born a certain way, you would tend to have to accept that it's natural. And Vic, I found the part that I wanted to quote. So the Williams Institute report, which is one of the more, and it's for a while. Remember, they only been doing this stuff since, really, I think the Williams, I don't know when they actually started, but they do the reports on sex and other things.
Right.
They stated that 8.2% of Americans reported that they had engaged in same-sex sexual behavior, and 11% reported same-sex attraction. Now, to you, that might be gay or bi or something.
Right.
But that's why you need to look at the reports, because they're not defining it thusly. Okay?
True.
So, but my own opinion was that somewhere under 10% is what I was expecting. Okay.
Right.
To be non-heterosexual. Okay, let's say that.
Yeah.
And on a personal level, they don't deal with the questions the way I would, Vic, and this is a big one. In my lifetime, for whatever reason, I'm one of those men that I've attracted a bunch of, I think I had a bunch of bisexual girlfriends. And what's amazing is that other people didn't have the same, but I also had girlfriends that didn't have orgasms with. And why did I know? Because they told me, because I was a communicative person.
Right.
And I talked to my loved ones. And so they told me things. So my experiences, when I would bring up stuff like, you guys do, all your girlfriends, my girlfriends come every time. I said, oh, yeah, you Tarzan. And I said, well, I find sort of like what they're reporting, 25 to 30%
Right.
of the women I know don't
Right.
have an orgasm with a penis in them. And all my friends are like, well, my girls, every time.
Right. Right.
'Cause that's how men are.
I think the better question is, Mario, did you sit in the chair and ask them why you?
Well, that's another story.
You see, you want to give it. You want to tickle us with.
Well, yeah, because the point being was that what was gay? Because that was the point, though. Because I knew women that liked having sex with women,
right?
but they didn't fall in love with them and have them as girlfriends.
I understand that, man.
Okay.
Yeah. Then
I had a couple of them that fell in love with women and had girlfriends. It was just like, so they don't ask those kind of questions in the surveys. They don't really deal with it in the other. It has to do with how they have to standardize those questions. Anyway, I invite you to go take a look. It's a good read. Okay, just how gay are we? I posted some stuff on Facebook. I'll be putting some stuff up along with this broadcast. I got the demographics for what it's worth. Okay, for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's one other point we're going to have, because I'm not going to, I might even short. Listen, check this out. Is a recent shooting that occurred in Arlington at the baseball practice. Was that the tipping point? It's interesting because in our times, there are always events that are what I call the tipping point. They shift the issue. It's like Magic Johnson coming out that he's HIV positive. Okay, I thought the Sunnybrook, massacre would have been it. But the question is this the tipping point? Because now your senators and Congress people are wanting protection. Is that the tipping point on gun control? I hate to, and people, and let me say, I say it like that, and there are people who say it in ways that are so much uglier about the irony. I'm not going around wishing hate. That's a lot of negative energy. So I'm definitely not wishing that on anybody. But people are out there saying, what goes around comes around.
If Sandy Brook didn't do the tipping point when it dealt with children,
I thought that was the tipping point.
This would prove the point of how political it is if the movement is launched from here. That would prove where the importance of the individual lies. If they're a politician, then we need to do something about it. But Sandy Brook is where, to me, if it didn't start there, I was going, what will it take? So I'm not wishing anything the same way on you. It's not about preference. It's the idea that where do you get the launching point? It should have been launched a long time ago, but...
And so it is.
Yeah.
So, and I guess that's part of it, too, noticing what is and what isn't, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. We'll see. Was that the tipping point? But certainly there are folks that are suggesting it. And who knows? Who knows? All right. Other things, I'm pulling it up right now. Tech giant, you guys, they're investing I told you I was trying to get it last time. If it will stop playing, damn it, stay still.
That's what you get, man.
Jeez.
That's what you get.
Okay, these visual aids. I don't know what's with the aids. Here, this one. Okay, smart lenses. We don't need that audio. That's some bunk audio. Okay, look at this. Smart lenses, you guys. Contact lenses. Just a blink of an eye. Putting them between two. This is from Mashable. I love Pete Cashmore. Thank you, brother. This is what they're working on. A bunch of them. Samsung, Google, Sony. All of them. Digital contact lenses are coming. Remember I told you. So I can have sex and watch you.
Here, so there you go.
See all the freaks.
There you go.
Yeah, they're going to be filming you with their contact lenses now. I see a security problem already.
Yeah, already, right?
Oh, help us.
Amazing. I would use a correlation, but I'm not going to do that.
They also have them that'll check your blood sugar in a sense because they can correlate it to tears.
Oh,
So
okay.
for people who have diabetes, that's the one I wanted, Victor. You can
yeah.
put on the contact lens and it would check it out. You wouldn't have to poke your finger.
Right.
Even though I got that down now.
Yeah. Nice, man.
All right. So remember that Google Lens. Man.
Nice.
Oh, they're going to be using all this stuff. Thank you to Mashable. That's one of the sources that I use to get some of my news and information. Okay. That done? Oh, no. Okay. That's enough. All right. Now, weekly Trump disaster, you guys. Today, and I didn't have enough because it just was released this morning that the Supreme Court was going to allow some aspects of the travel ban, but it would allow for the students and other workers to do their thing, from what I'm understanding. I haven't had time to review the stuff. What I'm understanding, but the casual traveler with no specific connection would be banned. That's my understanding. But that students on a visa or whatever, or employees of different companies, that they would be able. So that's what's happening today, as far as I know this morning. Now, I reposted my predictions because, remember, I predicted that within 120 days that the process would be starting. And we published my predictions on the 22nd of May. I reposted that on Facebook because I'm the one who predicted the president impeached, 12 to 18 of his staff indicted, and jail time for Jared Kushner. So we're going to see what's happening because I predicted that I also used the term, and you can attribute it to me, orgy of evidence. That there will be evidence going back even before the campaign because they were already tipping the wires because of their communications with the Russians over finance issues.
Right.
That the investigation actually of them started way back then.
Right.
Okay? So that's Mario Hemsley's prediction. So the weekly Trump disaster update is that we want the president to be confident. You want him comfortable and confident. He's not really confident. He's nervous as shit. But that's enough. You really want to try to cool him. It's okay. We don't know nothing, master. It's all right. It's a good day. The sun comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
So you want the president confident. Have a few little victories. You know, all that. Yeah, all right. Because the Republicans are going to pay for this too.
Oh, man.
Republicans are going to pay for this because there's a backlash. But the amazing thing that I want you to understand is how the Democrats have not been able to take advantage of any of that. Do you understand what's happening?
Slow-ass
Everybody
philosophy.
hates Trump, but the Democrats cannot take advantage of that at all.
Slow.
Okay? Because it's the same issue to me. Like they say, if it's a left wing and the right wing, ain't it on the same bird?
Yeah.
I suggest people think independent. But anyway, that's another whole story because, you know, especially with black folks, when you say leave Democratic Party, they want to start, you know, burning you in effigy. Come on, I'm just saying.
Why do everybody think that against one side means you're for the other side? Why do they always think that? that if you go against this side, whatever the faction is, if it's Republican or different, you must be for the other side.
Well, there you go.
There's no individual choice.
And maybe you can change. That's the other thing. People, you know what? They give you the impression that you can't change your mind.
Right.
And that you certainly don't admit it. Oh, come on, you guys. We should be able to change our minds, admit it, say we are waffling. Some days, isn't it true that on different issues you feel one way on one day of the week and another way on a different day of the week? Sometimes it's a different time of day.
Yep.
That's just human nature. It's the truth. So, don't feel compelled to be a machine. You don't need to be a machine. Yeah. Anyway, but that's this week. That's, where is it? Oh, wait. Oh, I don't have the audio up. Man.
That's all right, man.
Everybody, it's the good news. The bad news. And the other shit.